to a Tuesday edition of the Investor Guys podcast. I'm Kevin Mills. This dapper gentleman is Bill Barnett. I just noticed that's a houndstooth tie.
Yes, it is.
That's very cool. That's very, very cool. I wonder how that would look with a houndstooth jacket.
So, thank you.
That would be, very cool.
So,
how are you doing?
Excellent. Had a great weekend. And you, sir?
Doing well. Got a lot of things. I'll talk about those later on in the show. Today, we are continuing where we left off on Thursday. We were talking about the changing face of real estate flips, the reasons why it's changed, what's changed, and we're going to get into today how to adjust ourselves if we want to continue to do flips, and if that's even something that's worthwhile doing in this market. But first, and Bill's usually the one who's getting political here, but I'm going to do it. And to be fair to Bill, I have another venue where I get to be political, so I can kind of get it out of my system. But I was thinking over the weekend on this specific topic of flips, and we are looking at a situation that is affecting our real estate investing ability on flips and in other markets as well, other strategies as well. That is, I'm going to say 100% politically related. Okay.
Sure.
The reason the real estate market is in the situation that it is in is absolutely because people are moving out of blue states and into red states. And that creates a vacuum in certain states, which creates a real estate situation. And it creates a shortage in other states, which also creates a real estate situation. We are also looking at very, very costly materials and very, very costly labor. And both of those are directly because of our current political situation. We have been deregulated on just about everything. If it doesn't grow green or emit green fumes or whatever else, they want to get rid of it. We have to pay now more for transportation. We have to pay now more for the chemicals that make up these products. Forget getting wood for what we paid for it just a year ago. Any wood product. Labor is through the roof because we can't come by it. For whatever reason, people don't want to work because of COVID, or people don't want to work because they were getting more on unemployment. Whatever the situation is, we are looking at a perfect storm that was created. I'm going to say 100% because I can't even think of 1% that would have caused this to happen normally. I mean, these things do happen, but I can't in this scenario think of one thing that has caused this to normally happen. This is a perfect storm that was created 100% by politics. And make no mistake, unless you change what you're doing and change how you're voting or change your strategies, this is going to affect you. Moving down the line, this is going to affect you. You need to understand how to protect yourself as far as the types of investments that you're going to be doing. You need to learn how to protect yourself as far as your money. They're looking at your money. They're going to $600 transactions. How many times a day as a real estate investor do we do transactions that are $600 or more? Every single one of those are going to be a blip now on the radar of Uncle Sam. They want to watch your bank account. They want to start taxing your retirement. They want to start taxing every possible thing that they possibly can. And I don't care whether you believe it was under $400 or over $400 or whatever. It is going to hit every single level, every single person, every single corporation in America, unless you understand how to protect yourself from that inside and out. And you need to accept it right now. Stop living in denial. Stop thinking it's going to get better. It may get better in another year, or it may get better in another 4 years, who knows? But right now, this is going to affect you. And let's say it doesn't get better. Where are you going to be in 4 years? You're going to be 4 years behind on this curve. So again, I'm not usually the one who's getting off on a political tirade and a political rant. That's usually Bill's job here. But you need to open your eyes, because this does 100% affect us. And we are looking at it right now, face to face in this particular scenario. Bill, I know you've got something you want to add to this.
Yeah, I just, there's a couple of things I want to add, and I'm going to be brief on it. I have a client who's very liberal and very democratic, and we had a meeting last week, and I said, "Well, how you liking your Biden inflation?" He goes, "Inflation? What do you that? There's a little blip or something." And I went, "Dude, are you freaking?" Unfortunately, I was stupid. Can you not under? Do you buy gas for your car? Do you walk everywhere? Oh, wait a minute. You're in a car. We're paying over $1 a gallon more than we were 10 months ago. And that's affecting everything. And he says, well, it hasn't really affected real estate. And I'm like, oh, so what you're really saying is that you haven't done anything in the last year. Oh, no, I got 2 flips going on right now. I'm like, then stop lying to yourself and look at your receipts. Don't listen to me. Go look at your receipts. Because if you're buying materials, you can't not have noticed. Because if you haven't noticed and you really truly are currently in the middle of 2 flips right now, your profit is going to get destroyed and you're going to be sitting there going, gee, what happened? And it was an interesting conversation. I'm going to, and probably there's not too many Democrats, too many liberals or liberals, too many liberals that listen to us or watch us, especially when I start espousing. And that's fine because I don't listen to them much either. But look, we have to save this nation and you have to vote conservative to be able to do that, or we're done, period. And the real estate market will go with that because the real estate market can't save the nation. And that's because we still have a lot of very liberal real estate investors, which is really surprising to me, but we do. And so whether you liked Trump or not, I don't really care. The policies, Obama makes me want to puke. And people would say, you're just a racist. And I go, you don't get it. It has nothing to do with him being Black. It has everything to do with policy. So Trump, it should have nothing to do with him being orange and should have everything to do with policy. And with policy, you can't fault and you can't find fault with the policies that made America great again. And what was the first thing the Democrats said they were going to do? We're going to reverse every single thing he did. And you see the cause of that, what's going on with it, the results of that. And it's greatly affecting our real estate market. We're way over. We'll jump off.
And you know what? I want to point out that this has nothing to do with liberal or conservative as to where we are right now. Okay. It doesn't matter whether you are liberal, whether you are conservative. If we don't fix this, we all go down in the same boat because we are all on the same boat, the same plane, however you want to look at it. If we don't fix this together, we all sink together. So keep that in mind as we go into this next break. And Bill and I will get it out of our system so that we can actually talk about flips on our second break here.
You got it.
And we are back to real estate.
Now, all of the listeners are going to be thrilled to know we took a extremely long break so that Kevin and I could get out everything that we wanted to get out with each other.
Our political
share with you guys. That's right. So we got all of that out so we could be focused on nothing but real estate. So flips going forward because the market is changing. You and I are we're in protected markets, falsely protected, but protected markets in Florida and Texas because of and I say falsely protected, but it's because of this evacuation mentality that people have in these heavily taxed states that are fleeing and coming here, California, New York, and New Jersey being the primary ones. And they're coming to Florida, they're coming to Texas. So we have this enormous amount of demand. So our markets are propped up, if you will, a little falsely, much like when we talk about capital markets. If the capital city for a state, a lot of times we'll talk about how that's a little bit of a false economy because the rest of the state could have a terrible real estate market and the real estate market there might be very good because of the fact that they have a demand that is different from the rest of the state. DC is that way. It always has a pretty strong real estate market, which is false compared to the rest of the country. And it's just because there's an influx of people that always are there. They're people that are changing every so often. And same thing with the state capitals. But the rest of the country is the underpinnings of the market are changing. And so as we move on, then flips are going to be much more in favor. We talked a little bit last show. I think it was Thursday, could have been Tuesday of last week, but I think it was Thursday where we talked about what the return that flips had taken a very big hit in the profit margins. Well, that's going to be turning back around. That's not necessarily, it's good news for you and I as we do flips and other real estate investors. It's not necessarily good news for the country, because what that means is the things that are cyclical. It doesn't freak you out if you understand the market and understand that we are due for the real estate market to soften and to correct and to plummet, whatever phrase you want to use. It's going to happen. Is it going to go back to anything below the end of 2012, the end of 2000, or the beginning of 2013? No, it's not. It is going to come down a chunk, but it won't go down that far. And then it'll stay flat and then it'll take back off again. That whole process is going to take 3, 4, 5 years to go through. So we're going to have this spell where flips are abounding again, where you can walk out your front door and throw a rock. A lot of people that are real estate investors right now have never experienced a down market. Everything changes in the down market as to how you do it. So we'll finish the flips and then we'll get into what the market is screaming for us to do.
And don't expect the markets to be changing. This transitionary period is going to continue to go. 2 weeks ago, right after Newsom won his recall effort, the first thing he did was award the contractors and builders associations, everything else that supported him, sunk millions of dollars into his reelection or whatever you want to call it campaign by changing the laws and getting rid of the suburbs. Literally now, and I don't know if you heard about this, Bill, they can bulldoze any single family house in any neighborhood and put up a 4+ unit building. They can literally infill 4+ unit buildings in any residential neighborhood that was previously zoned for single 1 family units. So, and that's for the entire state. So there are people who are already on their way out the door because of that, because they live in neighborhoods that are going to be prone to that situation. So you can literally be living next to an empty lot or a house that somebody wants to purchase, bulldoze, and now you're living next to a 4-unit building. That means that your parking situation in the street has now changed. That means that the amount of traffic going around your children has now changed. That means that the burden of the local schools has now changed. There are a lot of older neighborhoods with older homes in California, in Los Angeles, and in all the cities that are going to be subject to that scenario. Last week, Newsom announced that every single school child, regardless of whether they're going to public school or private school, has to be vaccinated against COVID. Every single elementary, every single middle school, every single high school student. I have already heard from hundreds of people. I know you want to move on, but hundreds of people.
We're going to get started again.
Going to be moving out because of that. My point is that's not changing. And we're looking at similar situations now. New York City is going to have another mayor. Hopefully he will be better than de Blasio. He certainly can't be worse. But the governor that they have that replaced Cuomo, she's no better. So we are still going to continue to see people. And I'll get to this later on in our last segment if we have time for it. We're going to be spending our summer in Ohio because we have been deluged here by so many people from out of state. We're going to literally jump in with both feet into Cleveland, and we've got our own personal residence in Northeast Ohio that we're going to be spending the summer there as well. This has not turned out to be too much about flips. So here's
the thing on a longer term basis that I want everybody to keep in mind. Why are you not investing in California right now? And the answer is simple. It is insanely expensive.
and your returns on investment are very low. It really doesn't
Yeah,
matter how much
and they
you
go hand in
invest, you're getting
hand.
the return. Yeah, if
Yeah, they
if
go
I'm
in.
investing $1 million and I'm getting 50% return, I'm fine with that. But if I'm investing $1 million and I'm getting an 8% return or a 12% return, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, and most of the time they're not getting that. They're
No.
getting less than that even. So, but here's the point: as this evacuation, if this financial evacuation tends to happen out of California, the real estate market there, because the real estate market really doesn't care, it's going to start to correct, and it'll correct in a different way. Now, it will likely be an area that we see a lot of drop in pricing. So there's going to be, as we get into the next 2, 3, 4 years, certainly 3, 4 years, there are going to be opportunities in California to invest again because of how far down the market will have corrected there, because it was insanely high, just like in New York. I don't know about New York City. I don't play in that market. I stay away from it. It's not. I don't have any interest. I don't think it's America. I'm not interested in it. So that market, but upstate New York, great markets, great markets. And some of those are going to be correcting to the point where things that were priced out of the average investor's pocket are going to be right back in that. And so flips are going to be a very important part, because we're going to see the foreclosure rate go up. Now, look, this is not about, oh, the foreclosures happening because of the moratorium. That'll have some impact on it, but it's going to be very minor. It's happening because the cycle has come back around. Now we're way over. We'll get into what is causing this.
Our economy. Our economy is going to be giving a kick in the butt.
Yep.
So we're going to do another. We're going to do another break, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Thanks.
And we're back. And what we're trying to get at is there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, there is, things always change, and where we are now is not where it's going to be in 3 years or 5 years or 7 years. It's going to change. And most importantly, we're real estate investors, and we are not stuck with one single strategy. Most people, when they start investing in real estate, myself included, we started doing flips. A lot of people, probably the majority of people who call themselves real estate investors, they do flips. That's their focus. But we are not limited to just doing flips. There are other things that we could be doing. And when we see the market change, when we see those numbers, that's the writing on the wall, almost like what I've got behind me here. When you've got those numbers and you've got that writing on the wall telling you that this is not a strategy or a market that you need to be working right now, you need to do the analytics. You need to figure out, what market is it that is going to be strong for me? What strategy is it that's going to be strong for me? How do I take advantage of this change? Whenever there's change, there's opportunity. So we have opportunity. Just because one thing gets taken off the table, that doesn't mean we don't have other opportunities. If you are a one-trick pony and your only strategy that you know and you understand is flips, you're going to be in trouble. And not just this time, the next time happens, and the next time, and it does happen. You need to broaden your horizons. You need to find additional strategies that you can work, just so that you have a better, well-rounded portfolio that's going to better support you and be stronger in providing you an income.
And it's that thing that you said, that if you're a one-trick pony, and if you're a one-trick pony, it really doesn't matter what the one trick is. It's going to fall out of favor at some point. And when it does, you're caught flat-footed financially, and you move on. Now, here's something that I want to share. I want to share with the audience that happened to me personally. It happened in March of 2020 when we went into the lockdown. And Alex Hormozy, who's a mentor of mine, uses this. First time I've ever heard anybody use this phrase, but I went, wow, that's real estate. And he's not a real estate guy. That's real estate. He uses the phrase niche slapped. He said he got niche slapped. Well, the real estate market niche slapped me in March of 2020, because I'm rocking along. I got a lot of different things. What I didn't have was guaranteed income. I was out of the Section 8 market, had been out for 3 or 4 years. And our conversation back then, which is the birth of this podcast, was Kev says, hey, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, I'm all over it, dude. And that's what started this thing, was us getting together. And we got together because of that, because of the change in the market. And Kevin's business was not affected the way mine was, because Kevin was in very heavily in the Section 8 market. Does it mean that's the only thing he's in? No. But was he very heavily in it? Yes. And that prevented a financial burden happening to him and his family when the lockdown happened. Now, look, once something happens in our country, it's going to happen again somewhere down the road. And I believe that there's an enormous likelihood that something's going to come along and they're going to play this card again? Well, sure, I do. Just like, taxes, the IRS was a temporary agency. Income tax was a temporary thing meant to cover the cost of World War I. And apparently we're still paying for World War I because income tax haven't gone away. And that's the nature of what happens in the political world, especially taxation. So you can't be caught with just one strategy. And then you're going to have strategies that the market is in favor of. And it's what, as we kind of wrap the last show with, it's what the market is screaming at you to do. And right now, what the market is screaming at us to do is to be involved with guaranteed income. And guaranteed income comes from the federal government, and it comes from Section 8. So if you're not looking at that anymore, you're kidding yourself. You're missing an incredible piece of the real estate market. Now, I'm not going to get into what markets that we're in, all that, because we're going to give away all the secrets. Because it doesn't work the way it works for Kevin and I in every single market. It doesn't work for Kevin in Miami. It doesn't work for me in Dallas-Fort Worth, because the pricing of our property in both of these markets is too high to be able to, in relationship to what we can get from the Section 8 rent, it's too high. There's not enough spread. So we don't make the spreads that we need to make, want to make, can make in other markets. So we look at other markets, and we are always evaluating additional markets to see, is there a possibility that this could be a market that we have what we refer to in-house as an approved market list. And is this another market we can add to the approved market list, because there's a big enough gap between what we can buy the property for and what we can rent it for to Section 8. Now, look at what the possibilities are for you as an investor as to if this happens, because it's going to. And I'm not talking about another lockdown. The market's going to turn. It's nothing weird. It's the cycle of business. The market is turning. It's not going to. It already is turning. It's just slow. This is a battleship. You can't turn it like a ski boat. This takes 40 acres and years to turn. That's happening. So look at what my strategies are. And flips are going to come back into very strong favor because of the drop in pricing. That should make some other markets available to us for Section 8 and guaranteed income as well.
And to get back to what Bill was talking about in March of 2020, I am heavily invested in Section 8 and also vacation properties. So when March of 2020 hit and we were in COVID restrictions, the vacation properties that we had, we were no longer allowed to rent those because of the COVID restrictions. We literally, on Airbnb and Vrbo, were not able to rent the units unless they were in a resort or unless they were in a hotel. That was the restrictions. Fortunately, we were able to, I don't know, if you guys catch the first shows that we did, you'll see a lot of different backgrounds, because my wife, my daughter, and I, we bounced around to different vacation, different places, because we had that luxury of might as well use them ourselves if nobody else is going to be using them. Did we lose revenue on those properties? Yes. Did it kill me? No. Did it put me in the poorhouse? No, because I still have a hedge. And if you guys are into investing, you understand what that means. It is a different strategy that will continue to bring in money when another strategy isn't. So when one strategy is strong, You may have strategies that are all strong, but you may have strategies that are going to get weak. You're still going to have strategies that continue to stay strong through that. Make sure you have a hedge in your investment portfolio. Make sure you're not all invested in just one thing. If you want to start building, Bill and I both strongly recommend Section 8. If you want to build a good, strong core, a good, strong background, focus on that, and then start looking at a lot of other projects, other strategies. I love vacation homes. Flips would be another one. Commercial properties is another one. There are lots of strong strategies out there. They may or may not be in favor at any particular time, but they will come back. It does not hurt to know how to do these things, because when they do come back into favor, you can be one of the first people to jump on it. Also, consider that if you are trying to do the exact same thing that every other investor out there or more are trying to do, you're going to have more competition. And like I said, most people, when they start investing, they're doing flips. A lot of investors, they consider themselves flippers. So you can find great deals, but you're also competing for other people in those same deals. Bill does a lot of flips, and I promise you, I guarantee Bill probably knows the other people in his market who are doing flips that he has to compete with, and he wants to get to that property before they do, because he knows that if they get there first, they're going to get the deal.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that and I'll just, this one quick strategy on top of that, one of the things several years ago that became apparent to me was that there is a dollar amount in every market where the bulk of investors are. They're at this dollar amount and below. And usually it's around median and under. And one of the things that I started doing was I had bumped out of that. And, you know, most people, 100,000 was for years was kind of the point everybody looked at. Ooh, you have to pay 100 or less to make any money at it. And so everybody wanted to play in that market. Well, I started bumping up into higher prices, and it's just a mindset. And so when you, as we've had a couple of good shows, when you set your mind to build your business profitably, you start to see, hey, here's an area that I can go in, and competition just falls away. And so I bumped the price of property up that I was buying, and competition fell away. And not only now did my flow of inventory not slow down, it actually increased.
And it is about the numbers. It literally all about the numbers. The numbers will tell you whether you are in the right market. The numbers will tell you whether you can be doing a better market. You can spend more money, but if you're still getting the same returns or greater returns, then there's no reason not to spend that money. A lot of people, they kill themselves by thinking cheap. They think that they have to do it for less. They think that they have to do it for less. They think they have to do it for less. Bill and I buy properties at market value. Bill and I buy properties at asking price that we still make money on, that we can still make 50%, 140% annually return, cash on cash, purchasing these properties straight off of the MLS for what they're asking for them and at market value. We're not sitting there wasting their time and our time trying to talk them into taking less money just so that the deal works for us. It doesn't work for them, but we want it to work for us. You need to understand real estate. If you're going to be doing real estate, you need to understand that. That is why Bill and I are here. We get a real quick plug. Contact us. We've got lots of programs coming up. I'm going to announce those on the next show because we don't have time this time. But we're getting ramped up. We're getting ready. So just, if you need our help, we're here. Thanks for joining us. We will see you guys on Thursday. Bill, I'll talk to you before then. Have a great one.
Very good, sir. See you, everybody.